Welcome to the most detailed video on Oluns to date. I will be covering most of the information people have found over the years, along with new information I have found recently. So if you're either new to Oluns or a veteran, you will learn how to improve your trash loot per hour by the end of this video. To me, Oluns is far from the max clear speed, currently at 18,000 trash with level 2 loot scroll and Agris, but I see it going as high as 22,000 plus. We are currently limited by AP, but with sovereign weapons out now, I believe these optimizations are more viable and make Oluns way more fun to grind. I'd like to introduce you to Double Back. Before I get into Oluns Valley optimizations and double backing the whole rotation, I want to start at the beginning with gear. To me, there are 4 levels of gear. Depending what level you're in, changes the method you grind, the clear speed, and the trash loot potential. Level 1 is when you're below 305 AP and you're unable to damage the golem's HP down to 40% by the end of a nuke animation. Usually at this level, you'll be triggering multiple attack animations and not focusing on the HP. At level 2 is when you're above 305 AP and you're able to do enough damage to get the golem's HP to 40% by the end of a nuke animation consistently. Level 3 is when you're above 320 AP with a pen narc. At this point, you should be able to damage the golem to 40% HP by the end of a donut animation. At level 4 is 330 plus AP with a pen narc 5 Debo set. You should be comfortable at consistently hitting donuts and can start doing swipe animations. This is the current best in slot crystals for Oluns in my opinion. The main goal of your crystal build should be what works best for you. For example, if you're in level 1 gear, you can swap the Makalas for Hooms to be more tanky. If you're in level 3 or 4, in my opinion, it might be better to run 2 Gallantry Olycus so it can make getting to the golem on time easier, which for faster groups is critical. For resistance crystals, level 1 and 2 should be using adamantine and giant type crystals to get your knockdown and stun stiff resistance to at least 60%. For level 3 and 4, you should be using only 1 RBF adamantine, since there are much fewer stun CCs the golem does, so it's better to swap it. In the most ideal situation, your buff bar should be looking like this. In terms of consumables, you'll want to run an exquisite cron meal, deep sea elixir, and either the new Kama Harmony Draught or this list of elixirs. Addons, believe it or not, are pretty big when it comes to doing damage. Having the correct addons though can vary according to your playstyle. For example, I noticed that I tend to use Hop 3 more often than other skills, so I put the more important add-ons on that skill. In general, you should be using these add-ons. There's still more to learn with add-ons, like coordinating with your party members and how different level add-ons work with each other, but I just wanted to give a general idea of what you should be using. Lightstone sets are class dependent based on the stats your class already has. Shai and other low crit rate classes should be using Death Blow, but for most classes you should be using either Vicious Shadows or the wild Kama Sylvia. Those Lightstone sets should be inside either Kabua or extra AP against monsters artifact. The classes that are best at Oluns from my experience and from videos I've seen are Shai, Mystic, Nova, Lawn, Ranger, and Ninja. I noticed recently that even 2 Shai does quite well. Classes like Striker, Zerker, Wusa, and Witch can be pretty good as well, but in my parties they've never been as fast as the other classes I mentioned. Here's the updated map with the new rotation since there was a golem removed to make space for Dekia. There are essentially 2 rotations, long and short, with the short rotation having a couple different variations and I find to be more relaxing. Most of the time you're skipping the first golem since it's kinda out of the way on your way back from golem 11, but some groups also opt to skip the forest golem. At some point though, between level 2 and 3, you'll need to start adding golems when you notice your group is overclearing. Long rotation is really only necessary if you're trying to maximize your loot potential. I made a calculator that gives you loot potential for each rotation with variables to change like the amount of extra adds and which rotation you did. After testing both rotations and checking the numbers, long rotation does make a little bit more trash per hour. I think the first and most important thing to learn about Oluns is damage control. Oluns is unique compared to other grind spots where you're continuously dumping damage. Knowing when to burst damage and when to stop doing damage can be critical to clear speeds. For example, even at level 1 gear, you're able to get the babies to summon before the HP arm drops every golem. Another huge aspect to damage control is knowing the AoE size and shape of your attacks. This is for times when the golem's HP is really low and you need to focus the adds or the arm without killing the golem. Before I go in depth into the way Oluns works, I made a list of things that you should always be doing while you're grinding. Use Agros when possible. Oluns is still one of the best Agros per silver grind spots, and since the majority of silver made is from trash loot instead of RNG, it's highly recommended. You should almost exclusively be doing back attack on the main golem. The long animations make it really easy to do so. Pets should always be on red. At level 2 gear and up, you'll want to skip a Furu because the time it takes to kill him often results in a loss of money for that hour. Although if your group does opt to kill him, the best thing you can do is attack it towards your party. A Furu will always run away from where you attack him. Finally, keep an eye on the HP bar. You can grief your group if you aren't paying attention by killing the golem before the arm breaks or causing the wrong phase. Now I think it's time to finally get into the meat and potatoes of Oluns. Some of this information is new even for veteran Olun grinders. I'll start with Prepulling. For those who don't know, Prepulling is when someone attacks the next golem to wake it up, since the animation is an iframe and takes 10 seconds to finish. So by the time your party is finished with the current golem, they can move to the next one, being able to damage it instantly without having to wait. There are 2 times when you can leave the golem to pre-pull, which can change depending on which phase happens first. Those phases are the HP arm iframe and baby summon. Generally, in lower level groups the Shai is chosen as the pre-puller, but due to a lack of mobility as you get into higher level Oluns, it's better for a faster class to take over. To wake up a golem, you'll want to use an attack, either long range, melee, or horse charge. Don't try waking without attacking, since this is unreliable and takes too long. The act of waking a golem applies the aggro to that person till the end of the wake up animation, regardless of how far away they are. Your goal as the pre-puller is to be able to figure out when you need to pre-pull the next golem based off the amount of damage your group is doing. Then be back within this range before the golem finishes waking up. This is where a Furu can cause problems and cause you to lose aggro, making problems with doing one animation pushes. For times when a golem was already woken, once in its waiting animation can be attacked by the pre-puller to grab aggro for forcing the first animation. I've mentioned animations a lot without directly talking about them. There are a total of about 12 animations, consisting of 8 different attack animations. In order of longest to shortest attacks, we have Fire Roar, Fake Nuke, Nuke, Donut, Slam, Stomp, Swipe Left, and Swipe Right. 3 of the 4 non-attacks being iframes where you can't damage or change aggro with taunt skills. Visually, the way animations work, even on Dekia, is it plays from the beginning of that visual every time you enter render range. This will sometimes make animations look like they get cut off shorter than they normally are. The way the attacks are decided depends on which phase of the golem you're in, how far away the person with aggro is, and an RNG dice roll. The first phase is when the golem's HP is above 50%. This is considered the most important phase since it will be deciding the first animation based off the pre-puller's positioning. I made this overlay to help visualize using information I found of each attack's decision range and put it on top of the in-game red donut damage indicator alongside its damage roll percent. Using this new information, I optimized the pre-puller's positioning for faster clear speeds and more consistent animations. For level 2 gear, the pre-puller needs to be anywhere within this area to get a nuke animation 100% of the time. Nuke is a long enough repeatable animation that is perfect for level 2 gear, and you'll see a large increase in clear speeds from level 1. Instead of showing you locations in-game like most guides do, I'd rather you integrate it into the current path you grind. My advice, especially if you're coming from level 1, is to use the donut red circle in-game to see the attack ranges. Then, follow the path you normally take to the golem and just stop outside that red circle. You'll notice that a donut RNG dice roll extends past the red indicator. Therefore, my best tips if you aren't getting nukes 100% of the time is to take a step back and or pre-pull later so you'll have time to get into position. Level 3 gear is when things start to get more interesting. You have 3 options for locations you can pre-pull. Your goal at this level is to force shorter animations, which will result in another increase to your overall trash loot. The first location for pre-pulling will force either a donut or a nuke. The pre-puller wants to be anywhere within this area of 1000 to 2000 units. When standing within this area, the golem will do 2 dice rolls at 20% and 50% for a donut. If both rolls fail, it will force a nuke without any dice rolls. The second location is in this small area between 500 and 900 units. Within this small area, you'll get 4 dice rolls for shorter animations with only a single roll for a fake nuke at 33%. The third location is actually here where you force only nukes, but instead of forcing when the group gets there, they force the animation early to be as short as the group wants. For a level 4 group that wants to be as fast as possible, the pre-puller wants to be within this range of 500 units and on either side of the golem for an extra dice roll at 20% for a swipe. On top of being faster, if the pre-puller happens to lose aggro, the other party members who get aggro will already be within range for fast animations. Being able to push swipes or short nukes might be the limit for how fast you can go for phase 1, but it's not where the optimizations end for going faster. The last subject on pre-pulling I want to bring up is pre-pulling the golem after the cliff with a Peggy. It's something that is really only easy with a T10, but doing this can add over a minute of time savings over your hour. I'll be honest though, this is really only for people looking to push the maximum loot potential, not for the regular group. For the current ceiling of Oluns, they use most of the methods talked about so far, which has resulted in the max trash of just over 18,700 in 1 hour. That's 2 billion silver off trash loot alone, with the total silver made being just over 2.5 billion after taxes. To me though, this can still be done faster. By my estimations, we should be able to break 2200 trash per hour, bringing the total made closer to 3 billion silver. I believe this can be done through double backing the whole rotation and pre-pulling swipes. Doubling back is nothing that is new to Oluns. In fact, it's something that has been done for a while now, but was only done on the last 4 golems. This is what inspired my friend Scytherizer, who had the idea one day if it's possible to do it on the golems at the cliff, which I replied, why not do it for the entire rotation? Along with Sonar Ring, we developed our own way of doubling back to work on the whole rotation by managing the adds and controlling damage. Overall, our group saw an increase of 10% more trash after just a couple of hours of getting used to it. The huge time save comes from using the golem's iframes to move to the next golem, saving up to an additional 8 seconds for every double pull. The time you save will net more loot overall as long as you're only dropping 1 to 2 extra adds per double back. Any group from pulling nukes to going for swipes is able to add this to the rotation without affecting much except increasing the speed. Double back is done in these locations. The pre-puller will force the first attack like normal, then once the HP gets below 50%, before baby summon, the Shai should buff the party. Leave the HP above 25% before the baby summon to allow you to kill all the small golems without killing the large one during the HP arm. The pre-puller leaves as the babies spawn, tagging them in the process, then pre-pulls the next golem and adds. When the HP arm drops, you want to burst damage on everything, resulting in the adds dying when the arm breaks. The DPS who isn't pre-pulling can stay behind for a second to clean up extra adds if you want, but normally you should move to the next golem. Both DPS double back to the previous golem to kill it when the HP is below 40% on the next golem, even if the babies haven't summoned yet. The Shai needs to stay at that golem to keep aggro, attacking the golem and the adds to bring them back. As soon as the DPS gets back, the Shai should buff as the arm breaks, then doubles back to grab their loot. Golem 13 to 14 has a slight difference where you need to stay within nuke range after its animation so it will follow to the next one. What I love about doing double back is that it removes the time when you're just standing around waiting for something to happen before you can attack. This, in my opinion, makes Oluns much more fun to grind than almost every new grind spot that has been released recently.
Alright boys.
For the future of double back, there are 2 triple pulls that might be possible, but as it currently stands, there just isn't enough damage to do it cleanly. Phase 2 of the golem should be baby summon, since getting the HP arm first causes issues and slowdowns. This requires your party to get the HP below 41% by the end of an attack animation. Although if your party only gets the HP between 40 and 50%, it will cause the golem to drop its HP arm. After the arm breaks, the golem will always do an attack before baby summon, but this attack can be skipped using aggro. The easiest way is for someone to use a taunt skill right before the arm breaks. Then when broken, run outside the golem's range till you see the baby summon. This can be done without taunt skills, however anyone can grab aggro during the HP arm, so in a situation without taunt, everyone will want to run at the same time. Adds refer to the small golems that spawn around Oluns Valley and from the hearts located around the rotation. When you start to include more adds into your rotation, you'll notice a good increase in trash loot. The adds have a limited range of how far they can walk from where they're woken up, so when they're at the end of their leash, you can cause them to attack, which locks them in place for a few seconds, helping to manage your adds. It's important to know that you should be dropping the HP arm in the same location as close to the adds every time. There are a total of 4 hearts, but the forest heart is usually skipped. Each heart spawns 3 adds that take a total of 50 seconds to spawn from the time you first aggro the heart. To spawn all 3 adds, you need to leave your horse near it. For up to level 2 gear, you can leave your horse at the hearts as long as you kill it every rotation to reset it. Otherwise, also due to the long respawn times, it's recommended that one person takes over and places the horse at each heart a couple golems behind. In this case, you won't want to kill or damage the heart, since once you remove the targets from its aggro range, will also cause it to reset. Hearts will regenerate health over time. Something you need to keep in mind the more adds you include into your rotation and at faster clear speeds is the Agro Limit. Oluns Valley is different from other grind spots, where at Oluns your entire party has an aggro limit of 10 instead of 30. At lower gear you might never encounter this, but once you get to higher clear speeds with more adds you might hit the aggro limit. When you're at the limit, the golem will be unable to summon the arm or babies. Instead, it will keep doing attacks until there's room in the party's aggro for that summon. Towers and hearts can be included into that aggro limit. The best way to prevent this is to focus the smaller golems and destroying the towers to make sure you have enough spots left in your aggro. Since I am a Shai main, I wanted to include a section with information relating to Shai at Oluns. There are 2 times when you have time to buff, either during the baby summon or right before the HP arm drops, making sure you tag it with the buffs. If you happen to miss either one of those times, it's usually best to use only Sun, Moon, Stars at the next golem right away, then use S plus LMB to swap to flow rank. For higher level groups at faster clear speeds, it's possible to buff every other golem if timed properly. At higher levels you need to start balancing casting time over damage that you can do. The time it takes to cast Misty Haze before you do damage can result in less damage for shorter animations. Same thing applies to Do It Better or Florin Leaves. The best time to cast those 2 are at the end of a buff chain. In terms of attacks, this is my current combo. This can change slightly depending where I am positioned and how late I arrive to the golem. The first attack when you get to the golem should be one of these 3 attacks, since it applies a negative 35 DP debuff for 10 seconds. Due to Shai's lack of mobility and cancels, to get to the next golem on time, it's best to learn how long your attacks are so you can time it perfectly. Most of the time you'll actually want to leave a bit earlier than the others, especially if you're pre-pulling. These are the add-ons I use with my playstyle and current combos. Obviously I recommend you do what works best for you. Finally, I want to bring up this flowboard jump found by this person, where you can jump the gap without a horse or jumping down. You need to aim at the lowest part of this rock, then jump right before this root. A key to making this is holding down the spacebar, which makes you jump higher onto ledges. It takes a bit of practice, but feels really cool once you learn how to do it consistently. I love regular Oluns. It's one of my favorite grind spots where I've almost exclusively grinded for the past year. It's one of the few special spots where I can have fun and lose myself for the hour, where you can make consistent silver that isn't mostly based on RNG, where the way you grind changes based on knowledge, skill, and gear score. It is the best grind spot in my opinion. If you're someone with level 4 gear interested in trying out double back or grinding with Scythe Riser and I, send a message to Peckless Yaw or add Lollygrime in game. Thanks for watching.